Hello everybody and welcome back to the chassis variant series of myself, Critical Rocket, and here we are with the second of the Black Lanner videos, the hotel version. This is the later variant that uses a single heavy large laser backed up by a pair of medium pulse lasers, and it's also protected by a single Guardian ECM suite. So that's pretty much it. That's all it's got going for it. It doesn't have a lot. Weapon-wise, it's fairly light on the ground for a 55 tonner. Bear in mind you can keep this in sort of relevance with things like, say, the Stormcrow, for instance, which is much more heavily armed. Even lighter mechs like the Nova have more firepower than this at the start. So really, the Black Lanner, at its speed profile and such, it's always best used as a kind of support scout, really. It's very fast, and that's one of its biggest strengths, and ECM allows it to very quickly run around, find a target, report that target's location, get bigger, heavier things in there, and do some killer-majigging. So I decided in this, since we were on the remake Forest Colony, not Classic, sorry, not Forest Colony, Frozen City, that I would use my ECM to try and ferry my fellow assaults and heavies across the way. Unfortunately, there was only the one who did it, as you can see there, the Warhammer 2C, and I go with him to keep him under the cover of ECM so he can't be detected as easily as me manoeuvre around. Now, some of the chats, people getting pissed off of the fact that, well, yeah, this is reminds me a lot of a World of Tanks map. I think it was called Malinovka, where basically you just have this huge open expanse either side, and there's no cover, and basically hardly anyone ever wants to cross it because it's like, no, you come to me, no, you come to me, no, you come to me, no, fuck you, no, fuck you too. And it basically just turns into a big kind of standoff, which is different for MechWarrior Online, which is generally NASCAR, so I guess maybe in some respects you could say, well, it's better than, just running around in a big circle. But yeah, the hotel version. The problem is even with the extra heat sinks that the record sheets point out, heavy lasers and pulse lasers, you can fire them all together once, and the recycle time on the heavy large is just so oppressively long. It's kind of difficult to use both weapon groups at the same time. You can overheat yourself with it as well. Don't be fooled into thinking that the recycle time on a single heavy large with the pulse laser will help, because the pulses will just keep you warm all the time, and you end up in a scenario where you do want to fire the heavy large, but you've got to sort of meter how often you fire the medium pulse lasers. Otherwise you end up in a scenario where you're just going to be overheating all the time, even on a cold map. So it's got that. It's always been a tough sell. The problem is I like the Black Lanner. I like the idea of it. It's just never really been a mech that I don't think has ever settled well into the landscape of MechWarrior Online's selection. On the clan side of things, it struggles against a very well established group of clan mechs at this point, and it has very little firepower to speak of in its sort of default setup. It is very much a support kind of mech. In some respects it reminds me a bit of a Raven for some reason, like the original Raven, the 3L, with this idea of it having ECM and a little bit of firepower, and just more focused around kind of sneaking about and marking targets rather than being a sort of a face-up sort of aggressor. So it's one of the problems that I think the mech has always struggled with. Now you might hear Hebe in the background. I had to close her into the kitchen because she was originally going to be on this video, but she just would not stop meowing, no matter how much. Because there's a point where I can let her in a bit, but there's a point where she'd meow over the whole thing, and it would just be this constant dirge of meow, meow, meow. So it's just like, I can't use that. It's too much. It's fun for a bit, As much as people enjoy Queen Hebe, she can be a bit much on these vids. So yeah, apologies for that. I've gone off topic. Anyway, I do like this version though. I mean, out of the... If I had to pick between this and the Bravo version, I pick this. The Bravo one, it's just bad. It's just not a great setup. This one is more fun. I really like this match as well, actually. It took a while to get going, and I think me and the Warhammer 2C player had a really good run of kind of sneaking around the side. It was a pity that the guy in the Warhammer 2C you saw it early, we blundered into basically the whole enemy team, and there was no way he was going to get out of that, and he just got lit up like a Christmas tree and died very quickly. It was unfortunate, but I think he had a really great idea of kind of slowly going around, trying to find like a lone target and then just trying to alpha strike it kind of thing, but yeah, it didn't work, unfortunately. But now, like, the fight starts properly. I actually think if a smaller version of this map existed on this side of the river, because you've got classic Frozen City on the other side, and this is the new part, I think this part could work as a map as well, because it's this really sort of... Yes, Hebe, you can shut up, missus. It's this really sort of dense urban environment with some wider areas left and right of you that you can use to kind of flank around. I think PGI's got a mini-map here. They'll never do it, of course, but it's a shame because what the game really needs is more maps, and you know, with the revelation that basically MechWarrior Online isn't actually profitable for the company and hasn't been now for at least 2 years. Yeah, more maps I think would be welcomed by the community. At least in the meantime, if you can make more maps out of these smaller things, why not do it? So yeah, it just became a really nasty urban fight, and I think that's where this mech excels. Medium to short range, kind of zipping around very quickly, firing at targets, and then using the buildings to quickly sort of retreat and let your heavy laser recharge, and then going back out, finding a target, you know, and focusing on weak spots as well. Finding areas that have already been opened up or already have orange or red armor, so you can, if you don't blow a section off a mech, then at least you can open it up for another teammate to try and destroy that area. That's, you know, where I think this thing has a strength, this build. Again, you know, the differences between tabletop and a live, you know, one-to-one action kind of thing is very different. The fact that heavy lasers are quite effective on the tabletop, the amount of damage they can do is horrendous, especially when you haven't got doubled armor values and stuff like this game has. So, you know, this mech would actually be quite a threat with its speed and single heavy large. You know, hitting with that is quite a punch. In MechWarrior Online, unfortunately, PGI had to make heavy large and heavy mediums and heavy smalls. Had to dial them back a bit, I think, because the damage output could be quite big. So, yeah. Although I think we're in the dying stages here. I actually thought we were going to lose, to be honest. I thought my team was going to sort of be a bit slow to get round, but I'm not sure. Not really sure what happened, to be honest. I think the other team were a bit too static and sort of refused to move, and a few of them were sort of spread out, and those were the ones who got caught out first, and then just turned into a really nasty fight. Oh, yeah, this is my kill. I got Asian Spectre. He'd been kicking my ass for most of the day recording stuff, and it was like finally sort of caught up, and I did the cheap thing. I blew his leg off. I'm sorry, Asian Spectre. But by the way, his build on that Vapor Eagle, that's really good. That triple ATM9 with the light tag, yeah, that's nasty. Just jump, hit someone with the tag, lock, fire. Ouch. I think he does like 600 odd damage in this match. Whereas I don't think I don't break a particularly huge amount of damage, but you know. Maybe the Black Lanner is just one of those mechs I'm just not really built for. I'm not the market, you know, audience for this one, target audience. Sorry, I'm not there for the Black Lanner. It's also I'd like to be, because I like the mech. It looks cool, and the one I always end up taking out is the one with the ERPPC and the couple of pulse lasers. And that's even warmer. But I think the others are a bit too. They're all over the place, a bit too scattered with their builds. I'd prefer something that's a little less crazy, you know? And this is the last guy, the spider player, who's trying to cap, but I guess he didn't bring his cap accelerator, unfortunately, and that was that. So this is Black Lanner. So the B and the H, a bit of a mixed bag. I don't mind the H, the B's bad, don't ever try it. But yeah, it's okay, it's alright. I think the Black Lanner still struggles, though, in the wider scheme. So, thanks for watching, everyone, hope you have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.